One of the greatest discoveries a man makes, one of his greatest surprises, is to find he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do.
I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of
People
their character.
do extraordinary things every day. They share their time, resources, or love. They show incredible strength and courage, and they inspire us by their example. In fable tales, heroes were kings and warriors who basically protected their people and country. The roles of the heroes have changed today, though people still aspire to be like them. All heroes have outstanding qualities. There are numerous definitions of heroes, but most people's view about the characteristic of a hero is fairly consistent. A hero must be courageous and daring, meeting obstacles without fear. Children aspire to be like their heroes read about in fable tales and history books, but more often than not, the heroic acts of these young boys and girls usually go unrecognized and unrewarded. Very often, we have waved aside initiatives of immense national impact carried out by these young children, sometimes at the risks of their own lives. Such is the plight of the Nigerian children. Despite being touted as the leaders of tomorrow, the future looks bleak for them, with the odds that must be faced to be at par or even outstanding in the midst of their counterparts in the Western and developed nations. This is the premise upon which Tufil Prima Foods PLC, makers of Nigeria's #1 instant noodles Indomie, instituted a CSR-based project tagged Indomie Independence Day Award for Heroes of Nigeria. The Indomie Independence Day Award for Heroes of Nigeria is a social responsibility initiative that seeks to encourage the act of heroism in children from ages 15 and below who have made notable sacrifices at great risk to themselves and those who strive to survive despite the unfavorable conditions in which they find themselves and have also pushed the limits of courage and performance to a new level. Indomie believes that in every child lies what it takes to become great. However, many brave children today live extraordinary lives without ever being recognized or celebrated. The objectives of the Indomie Independence Day Award for Heroes of Nigeria are to inspire acts of heroism in young stars, to bring together and celebrate Nigerian children all over the country, to seek out, acknowledge and encourage children who have exhibited acts of bravery and made notable sacrifices without any recognition, to reinforce the brand's commitment to corporate social responsibilities.
The aim or rationale behind IIDA is to reward stories of bravery and heroism performed by kids below the age of 15 years. It is very important that kids in the beginning of their life are set in the right direction. If you positively reinforce good values and traditional Nigerian cultural values in the kids right from the starting of their life, they are bound to become the champions or brand ambassadors for Nigeria to the entire world.
So far, 5 editions have been held. The first and second editions were held at the Congress Hall, Transcorp Hilton Hotel, and the Ladi Kwali Hall, Sheraton Hotels and Towers, respectively in Abuja. The third, fourth, and fifth editions were held at the Marquis Federal Palace Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos. Since its inaugural edition in 2008, the Indomie Independence Day Heroes Award has witnessed the presence of dignitaries, including First Ladies of various states, ministers, senators, members of House of Representatives, captains of industries, celebrities, and most importantly, children from different schools. There are 3 phases involved before 3 children can emerge as the Indomie Independence Day heroes. The phases are the search and nomination process, the selection process, the award ceremony. The nomination process begins with a call for entries. During this process, stories are sourced from various parts of the country through different means, which include field research conducted by a commissioned research agency, newspaper public captions, and other sources. Listed here are certain criteria that must be met. They are skill displayed, determination to conduct the act, leadership demonstrated excellence, degree of difficulty of act and sacrifice made, degree of risk involved, exceptional courage demonstrated, quality of inspirational role model for other kids, future goals and likely impact on the society. In the selection process, the nominees are further subjected to screening by a panel of judges which comprise of reputable personalities from various facets of life. The acts of the nominees are scored and are judged accordingly, and the top 3 candidates are judged qualified and ranked in first, second, and third place for the awards.
The reaction so far for the Indomie Independence Day Heroes Award has been very encouraging, most especially from the populace. We've gone through this for the last 5 years, and I can tell you out there that it's been encouraging. We've gotten feedback through mails, through telephone interviews, and that is what spurs us more to do more for the Nigerian children. And I think it's a laudable thing that we wish that the other corporate organizations can also embrace and make it a bigger program.
In the maiden edition in 2008, entries were generated across the country by an independent research team. 24 stories scaled the pruning process, out of which 3 stories were adjudged in the first, second, and third positions respectively. The judges were Professor H.O.D. Longe, Ambassador Segun Olushola, represented by Mr. Jimmy Olushola, Mr. Rubenabat Ben Eyede, Ms. Funlola Adewale, MD, UBA Foundation, Mr. Fela Durotoye, Mrs. IEA Jonathan, represented UNICEF. The 3 winners who emerged at the first edition are as follows. 14-year-old Khalil from Kano State jumped into a burning house to save his sister at the expense of his own life. He managed to save his sister, but he was not so lucky as his legs got seriously damaged as a result of the injuries he sustained. 10-year-old Dorcas, who resides in Kano State, saved her younger brother from an uncontrollable car accident that damaged their fence, risking her own life in the process. 15-year-old Razak from Lagos State demonstrated strong willpower to succeed in the face of disability by learning shoemaking at home to earn a living against all odds. The award ceremony was held at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, FCT Abuja, on the 26th of November 2008. During the second edition, the search effort yielded a significant number of stories. In the same vein as the first edition, the first, second, and third winners were determined after a rigorous selection process by a panel of judges comprised of the following personalities: Professor Kayode Oguntuashe, Miss Ruth Osime, Mrs. Aisha Oyebode, Mrs. Maila Osifo, Mrs. Shola Momo, Mrs. Dayton Ogwo, Mr. Steve Ayonide, Mr. Frank Aibogun. The second edition winners and the corresponding prizes won are as follows. 15-year-old Tekimbra from Benue State was presented with the first prize award for showing initiative and quick thinking when he placed a call with a mobile phone of one of the casualties aboard the ill-fated military aircraft that crashed in 2006 to a rescue team and also rescued 5 passengers alive out of the 18 passengers. Wembley Uchenna Amici, who resides in Lagos State, came second and was honored with 750,000 naira worth of scholarship for jumping over a bridge and into a mud-filled stream to save the life of a 4-year-old girl without considering the danger of his action. 15-year-old Chukudi from Delta State was presented the third place prize for his ability to produce prototypes of toy vehicles such as sports cars, trucks of different sizes, helicopters, caterpillars, and robots of different sizes from scraps of tin, metal, and cardboard with the aid of battery-operated remote control, crudely made by him. He learned to do this without any formal training, but through a curious love for science and engineering. The award ceremony for the second edition was held at the Ladi Kwali Hall, Sheraton Hotel and Towers, FCT, Abuja, on the 8th of October 2009. Following an intense search into the nooks and crannies of the country, about 300 entries were generated. Out of these entries, 24 candidates were shortlisted for the selection process. The panel of judges include Professor Duroni Detun Ogo, Dotun Adenijo, Mide Nobayabon, Kunle Shorion, Olaton Williams, Sam Omashe. The third edition winners and the corresponding prizes won as follows. 14-year-old Mariam Umar from Gombe State was born physically challenged without her two arms. She won the first prize award for beating the odds of physical deformity. She learned the art of improvising with her feet to do everything possible her hands should have done. In addition to this prize, Mariam received a sum of 1 million naira from Senator Mamora Olorunimbe, Senator Minority Leader representing Lagos East Senatorial District, who was one of the special guests at the event and helped present the star prize to Mariam. At the tender age of 12, Treasure, a Lagos State resident, is already a TV presenter anchoring a TV program, Young Investors on NTA. She beat other much older contenders, some of whom were graduates, to land the role of TV anchor. In addition, Treasure Obasi was awarded scholarship to tertiary level by Pastor Tunde Bakari, President Save Nigeria Group. 15-year-old Sarah Oladele from Ondo State rescued an accident victim on a highway. She smartly memorized the vehicle registration number of the hit-and-run driver and risked her life to save the accident victim who was lying helpless on the highway. She later reported the incident to the police, and the culprit was later arrested and prosecuted. She was further awarded the sum of 250,000 naira by Mr. Bolaji Balogun, a special guest at the event. The event was held on October the 8th, 2010 at the Marquis Federal Palace Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos. Following an intense search across the country, entries were generated. One of these entries, 18 candidates were shortlisted for the selection process. The panel of judges include Professor Rebecca Shuremekun Ngozi Obigwe, Dotun Adenijo, Joseph Adeyeye Kunle Shorion, Francis Fashui, Miss Ochuka Angela Ege. The fourth edition winners and the corresponding prizes won as follows. 14-year-old Njoku Chibu from Ebonyi State rescued a woman from drowning when the boat carrying her and the peddler capsized. He went further to retrieve all the materials which sank into the river as a result of the capsized boat. 10-year-old Ajila Webe, a Lagos State resident, displayed the unthinkable when she acted as midwife in the delivery of her little nephew on the floor of their home at the absence of a professional midwife or doctor. In swift action, 15-year-old Sule Malam Hamza from Nasarawa State jumped into a river to rescue a young boy from the ill fate of drowning. Sule performed this heroic act despite not being such a strong swimmer and even almost drowning himself while attempting to save a life. The award was held at the Federal Palace Marquis, Victoria Island, Lagos on the 8th of October 2011. Following an intense search into the nooks and crannies of the country, an impressive number of entries were generated. Out of these entries, 17 candidates were shortlisted for the selection process. The distinguished panel of judges include Mr. Graham Stohard, Ms. Angela Ochuku Ege, Professor Karen King Aribisalad, Mr. Philip Isakba, Mr. Nii Adesonya, Principal Consultant, 5th Gera Consulting. The 5th edition winners and the corresponding prizes won as follows. Fumilayo, a 15-year-old orphan from Edo State, found and rescued a strange-looking baby boy abandoned in a deep trench. She took the baby back to the orphanage with her and is still the baby's primary caregiver till date. Year-old George from Delta State saved a complete stranger from the fate of robbery and possible death when he scared them off with the firecrackers, which they mistakenly thought were gunshots being fired by the police. Eight-year-old princess from Lagos State saved her brother and herself from a fiery death. She used a burning hand to break the louvers and pushed it through the window of the second-story building before she too jumped out of the burning building. The award was held at the Federal Palace Marquee, Victoria Island, Lagos on the 13th of October 2012. Over the years, Dufil Prima Foods PLC, makers of Indomie instant noodles, have shown Nigerians that it's a brand that has their interest at heart, hence their various CSR initiatives.
This is to celebrate the Nigerian child, and we all believe that that's the future of the country and we should invest in it.
Dufil Prima Foods PLC is ahead of their time in recognizing children as the heroes in Nigeria. So therefore have entered the Hall of Fame as heroes themselves to these children. So far, 15 heroic kids have had their futures impacted for good. They have been rewarded, but more importantly, their acts of heroism have been recognized and nurtured.
I just did what I did, not for competition, not for an award. Just did it to save. A very big thank you. They will continue to excel. They will know no competitor. As long as Indomie lives, their name shall prosper.
I say a big thank you to Indomie.
Thank you very much, Indomie, for giving me the award and the prize money.
I so much thank Indomie for the support.
I'd like to thank Indomie for this award given to me. Mwah!
3 children will emerge winners from thousands of entries expected in the 6th edition, scheduled to hold in 2013. Who will these young stars be? What act of heroism have they exhibited? The voice of bravery reverberates, but only the discerning responds to its call for recognition. The search continues.